Welcome to the Shaman's View, the view from the invisible world. Today I'd like to share with you hummingbird medicine. Hummingbird medicine is the wisdom teachings of the medicine traditions, of the shamanic traditions of the Americas. And hummingbird occupies a really special place. You find it in the iconography of the coastal peoples of Peru, one of the oldest civilizations in the Americas, the Nazca people who made these gigantic carvings on the desert floor, the Nazca lines, with figures of hummingbirds. And you find that all through the mythology of North, Central, and South America, the hummingbird is present. The hummingbird represents the hero's journey, embarking on the heroic journey, not the journey of the victim, which is the journey that we're most encouraged to go on in the West, but the hero's journey, defying all odds, defying your skin color, your upbringing, your gender, your embarking on your soul's and heart's calling. So this is the represented by this little bird that is not even supposed to be able to fly, but that migrates from Brazil to Canada every year and comes back. So this is that, and the legends say that the hummingbirds fly right behind the geese, the migrating geese. And as you know, the geese take turns being lead goose, breaking the wind for the entire formation of geese that follow. And the lore says that the hummingbird is right behind the lead goose, and every 20 minutes when the lead changes, all the hummingbirds flutter backwards 200 meters, and they have to catch up again to that new lead goose. But they don't sit around Brazil saying, hey, there are no flowers for us to suck from until we get to Cuba. What are we going to eat? Where are we going to get honey? They embark on the journey. They don't say we don't have enough money, enough wings, enough time. They say yes. And this is what makes them the great travelers. The heroic journey is being able to say yes, even when the conditions are not perfect, even when you're not getting the kind of support from the family or encouragement from the spouse or acknowledgement from the children. But you're saying, yes, my heart is calling me, and I'm going to go on that heroic path that defies all adversity. Because you know you will be tested. You know that if it's too easy all the way, either you got really, really lucky or you're on the wrong journey. You're on the wrong path. It reminds me of the story of Parsifal in the quest for the Holy Grail. Parsifal was a country boy, basically. His mother had taken him to the forest so he wouldn't become a knight and be killed in battle like his father had been. So he has a sheltered life in the forest and then sees a group of knights riding by in their shining armor, and he sees that he has a calling. He says to his mother, Mother, I'm going to become a great knight. And the mother says, honey, no, stay here with me. Be protected. You don't want to do that. It's a rough life. You're going to be battling all your life. He says, no, I'm going to follow my calling. And he becomes a great knight, the greatest knight in King Arthur's court. And then one time he's sitting around the table, the great round table of King Arthur, and he has his arm over the side of the chair. They're talking about their great battles and conquest. And a woman comes, an old woman. They call her the wrathful maiden. She comes and she goes to Parsifal. I know who you are. You are a fraud. You are a fake. And she starts listing all of those failures that Parsifal had kept hidden from the world and almost had kept hidden from himself. But the hideous maiden exposes him in front of all of these other men. And he turns to them, and they all recognize that they also have missed their soul's calling. They've become great knights, defeating enemies and liberating castles and rescuing fair damsels. But for what? When their real purpose was to find the Holy Grail. So they swear to each other that they will not return to the court until they have found the Grail, and that they will go into the forest in the place where there are no trails, because if they follow the trail, surely some other human had gone through that trail before and come back empty-handed. That they would go into the darkest part of the forest where there were no paths and no trails, because there's where they stood a chance of discovering the sacred of sacreds, the greatest mystery, the goblet that was Christ's life-saving blood and healing waters. So this is what happens when the feminine comes and knocks on your door. In the story of Parsifal, she's called the hideous maiden, but this is the inner crone. This is the inner feminine, that subtle voice of the psyche. Psyche means the soul, and the soul is feminine. That voice of the soul that says, what are you waiting for? What, do you wait another year? When the time is not right, when is it going to be perfect for you to truly embark on your hummingbird journey that you don't have enough wings for, you don't have enough money for, the kids are not grown up, the job is killing you, you haven't had enough sleep in a week? What are you waiting for? How much longer are you going to postpone finding that grail? That is what you long for deeply in your heart. What do you need to shed? A little bit later, we're going to do a fire ceremony to shed what needs to be shed. But the problem is that that can become very seductive also. We can get stuck in shedding what keeps us blocked from taking the steps that we long to do. That can become a seductive distraction. The hummingbird goes, embarks on the great journey, but first she feeds on the nectar, accumulates enough nectar in her little body to take her as far as feasible and possible. And hopefully there'll be some flowers along the way. There always are. That's the beauty of it. This is like when the Israelites crossed the Red Sea. They were escaping from Egypt. First, the Pharaoh has said to Moses, take your people. He asked the Pharaoh, can we go? He said, take your people. And then the Pharaoh changed his mind and sent his armies back following the Israelites who were leaving Egypt. This was the whole workforce. Who was going to build pyramids if all the Israelites were leaving? They were the slaves. They were leaving slavery. And this is what Moses was saying to them. He says, hey, time to leave slavery. This is what we have to do today as well. And then they get to the Red Sea. Egyptian armies are behind them. Red Sea is in front of them. And the legends say, the Kabbalist legends, that it wasn't until the Israelites were nose deep in the water that the waters parted. Not when they were at the shore, putting their foot in the water to see if it was too cold or warm enough. Not until they saw that there was somebody on the other stream holding a towel so that they could dry out. No, they had to go. And then when they had the faith to know that the waters would part or that there would be flowers for nectar at the end of the day, that it all lines up behind you. But not before then. If you're waiting for it to line up, before you take the first step out of your door, we're going to die with that longing, knowing that we might have had an extraordinary life, that we could have been a contender, that we could have gone on that heroic journey of Hummingbird. So don't get stuck. This is a trap for the shaman. Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck on working on yourself, on working on the obstacles that keep you from going to where your heart really longs for you to go to. But make that choice and say yes to life. Flap your little wings. Know that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a dream and with a big flap of your little wings. Whatever wings the Great Spirit gave you will take you where you need to go. But we have to feed only on nectar. Now, I remember when I first started with the hummingbird medicine and heard about it, I said, yeah, I'm all for feeding on nectar. The nectar that nourishes me is love and support and courage. But all on my way to the flowers, my hummingbird would always stop by the garbage pile, by the dung pile, so that I could work on my stuff. And I had so worked on my stuff that I had become addicted to it. I had become addicted to working on myself. And what I lacked was the courage to say, yes, the flowers will be there. So I invite you to put all that is keeping you into the fire tonight. Put it into the fire today. Join me now if you have a candle and a stick, and if not, do it tonight. Put everything that is keeping you from saying yes into the fire. Not what you need to heal, not that you need to have enough time or enough money or the kids need to. Those are the perceived obstacles. What we want to put into the fire is yes. Yes. Are accepting that invitation from Spirit today. Because otherwise, the hideous maiden is going to keep showing up. Maybe you'll look at the mirror one morning and go, my God, what have I become? Look at me. Who have I become? This is what the goddess Aphrodite would do with her mirror. She would take her mirror. She wouldn't go, mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all? She would go, look what you've turned into. Look what you have become. This is the hideous maiden. This is the feminine that's been so neglected. The soul that has become dried out like a prune and is so longing for that water of life and that renewal and that yes. So I invite you to join me in the ceremony of yes to the soul's calling, of yes to hummingbird medicine, of yes, I am ready and I'm going, even without the assurance that I'm going to find the nectar at the end of the day or that I'm going to have the resources I need. This is the impossible journey. It's not supposed to come with guarantees. You're supposed to discover those in the journey itself. And then you will have truly the courageous journey of hummingbird and not simply a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more improved life situation with a little bit less pain. You will have gone on that journey that few dare to go to, because even the ones that hear the call frequently get seduced by the trap of eternally working on themselves, when what's needed is to say yes ceremonially to Spirit. Give me the courage, and even with that courage lacking, to embark. So the ceremony is with the offering stick that you place in the fire, the death arrow of everything that needs to die, to be left behind, so that we can then be freed to test our wings, to see how big our wings are, and will there be enough draft that will take us to the heights that we need to go to. Will we find the guidance that we need? We'll know. We'll know as we take the first steps in the journey. And today, we're so called to take those steps into a brand new journey for humanity. That hideous maiden has woken all of us up. She's gone, yes, look what you have turned into, humanity. Look at you, you who were given the garden to be the stewards and the caretakers of the earth. Look what you have done with our mother, with Pachamama, Mother Earth. Ah, time to wake up and go on that great heroic journey that we have to go on alone, individually, each and every one of us, so that we meet at the end of the journey around that sacred fire. So, with your stick, to release that old skin, those old habits and thought patterns and beliefs. And then to blow that yes into the stick. That yes, that deep, resounding, powerful yes that comes from your heart and from your belly. Yes. And hold it to the fire. Releasing that light, releasing the light that has been bound into all of that painful, difficult stories that you have been caught in, that all of us have been caught in, including that really difficult story of what we have called humanity, that story of our deep inhumanity that has been what we call our history. So I want to thank you for taking that step, for saying yes to yourself, saying yes to that soul that is so longing to be complete, to be healed, to be whole, to spread its wings, to fly, and to taste that nectar of those flowers that only those that have embraced the journey will be able to taste. That holy nectar, that sacred nectar of the wish-fulfilling flowers that will allow us to then dream the kind of world and the kind of health and the kind of journey that we want to dream into being for all of us and for each other, for ourselves personally. Thank you for joining me for Shaman 21. I'm sorry, for the Shaman's View. Thank you, and I invite you to do the ceremony again next week when the moon is full, in a week and a half. Do the ceremony. This is a time of the big pivot, of the big change that's happening astronomically. In the heavens are lining up to support the new heroic journey. For each one of us, we have to take it individually, because that's how quantum leaps work. They don't wait for the 99%. It's that 1/100th of 1% that becomes that illumined human that then sets the pace for all of humanity. Blessings until next week.